Thank you, everybody, for wonderful views of the last week's chat. So following that, I thought I should probably follow up with some of the ways that I use pens and ink and even pencil at times, but I'll just show pens today, Fabrico pens and Faber-Castell pens, of how I can create an entire quilt just using appliques that I have created. So in the block of the month that I'm doing, that I showed you last week, the little illustrations, I'm going to show you something now that's a little more familiar, and that's Frida. It was a Frida Kahlo quilt I did, and I've been to Mexico many times, and I thought you might like to see how that came about and a little more instruction on using the pens to create your own appliques. So this is the quilt that I was talking about, and this is Frida. I have a love affair with Frida, sort of. And I've been to Mexico many times, and I've been to Frida's house. And I actually designed this after I had been to Mexico and I was in Guatemala. And, when I was in my room, I had a sketchbook, this is the design I did, and I was just playing basically. I just wanted to do some tiles from after seeing the tiles in Mexico. But this is far too busy to do as a quilt. So I brought it home and then I drew out an easier format. This wasn't the finished quilt, but this is basically the way I started to do it. And then I had the pattern printed out at 6 foot by 4 foot, and this is the way it began, as any ordinary applique does. And you can see I'm using a light box. On the light box, I'm using a Teflon sheet, and then I do the applique over on the Teflon sheet. Here she is. This is what she would look like if I'd had no illustration on her. And here she is with illustration. So I've drawn the black and white band at the top of her dress. I've actually shaded the yellow, and the orange I drew black lines on there and then stitched them down, because there's no way that I could buy a piece of fabric that was angled in that way. So I just made my own fabric. And this is what she looked like when she had been illustrated and quilted. So now I really don't know how that idea of the tile formulated, but it did, and so I was going to run with it. And the rest of these drawings now, they've all been drawn in the iPad, and it gave me an idea for colours, and I can do them very quickly, and it's a lot of fun to design them that way. Take note that the tile is not square. I wanted it deliberately, by tile I mean the green part, or the red part, or the orange part. You can see that it's squiggly, and this drawing was done for a little quilt for India, and I used the Unipin 0.5 black pigment ink pen. You can buy them anywhere at most stores that sell pens and pencils and things. Now, I used this one because, see the rounded edge? Remember the pens we used to use to do labels? They were very square, and they used to catch in the waft and the weft, and it made it difficult to draw with. And of course, these are draftsman's pens, and they go, they're just beautiful. So this is a whole drawing I did with these pens on fabric for an Indian quilt. It was an elephant, actually. A bit fond of elephants. Faber-Castell Pit Artist pens, you can get these online, and the Fabrico ones you can too, and generally at Office Works or Office Max, I think they call it in the States. I'm not exactly sure. Now this is important. You'll need fusible web. I use Steamer Seam Light, 0.5 black pigment ink pen, a fat quarter of good quality tight weave white fabric. Now don't wash it. We need the sizing to remain in the fabric. I used Japara or a fabric that is really, really good quality, not just homespun. The pigment ink pens I've mentioned, and don't use the alcohol pens. They bleed, they'll wash out, and the pigment ink that is in the pigment ink pen, be careful because it's colour fast. So don't get it on your clothes. Once you do these drawings, you can put them in the washing machine and the colour will never ever come out, which is, I think, is really amazing. You need a few plain colours for the body of the tile, so the red or the other colours, and the black fabric. And I use rubia or sooty fabric that I buy in India. I do have some available in Australia, but in the USA you could buy cherry wood fabric. It's saturated in colour, back and front. So on this slide you can see that I have the light box on, I have the pattern underneath, white fabric over the top, and you can see how I'm holding it so that I can draw easily with that round tipped pen, as I mentioned. Sometimes I do the whole lot at once. Sometimes I put it in sort of a little sections like this. I just like to balance the colours and see how one is going to match against the others. Then I put fusible on the back of the drawings and cut them out on the line of the edge of the tracing, and just store them ready to use in the pictures. Then I put fusible on the back of the rubia as well, and store that ready for use. I use steamer seam light, as I said, and you can see that this is very light fabric, and look how the colour is so saturated on that fabric. Then once I've cut out the tile colour and then the applique, and I have that little red tile, then I'm going to put it onto some black fabric like this, and then cut around it with 1/4 to spare. 1/4 to spare. There also needs to be fusible on the back of that black tile as well, so when it goes down onto the applique. So there's 2 lots of fusible on there, and this is what they like when I've got all those little tiles cut out, and they look fantastic actually. I love seeing them all. I think there's 23, I think, in the Frida quilt, and this is what they look like. And I stitch them down, both layers, the black and the colour, with satin stitch or something like that. And they look fabulous. And I don't mind if the little corner things don't match. It's just a little quirky sort of an idea. And the entire quilt was appliqued, and that colour band in there was commercial fabric. So next week I'm leaving the cold weather of Aldgate here in South Australia at home and flying to the top of Australia, to the tropical north, to Darwin, to teach some classes and to do a workshop, and then I'm going to have a couple of days where I might be able to do some videos of what the scenery's like. However, I'm taking a quilt that I've just finished. I'm taking a class for the ladies of Uluru, which is the big rock in the middle of Australia. And all of that quilt is done with the pens the same as I've just been sharing. So I'm just following along with the theme. Yes, I will get around to showing you how I do portraits and things like that, but just at the moment, I thought I should follow on with what we've been doing on these videos, and then I'll have some time to put some patterns up for you so that you can use. I just thought I'd pop these in. There's a Frida quilt that I did a long time ago, and I haven't finished it. It was in my portrait days, and so it sort of comes into the portrait category. I've changed my ideas a lot since then. This is the lily I took the photo of at Frida's house, and the lily is made up of fabric, but that's also illustrated a little bit to give me the graduation of colours there. And on the border, I've drawn the border. It's around the whole quilt, and this is what it looks like because it's taken from my ideas of what Mexican tiles look like. And yes, this is drawn with the same pens.